We're going to move into the AFC West with the Denver Broncos. We have them as a top 10 pick. Dobbs, why do you have them as a top 10 pick?
Well, how about I'm just going to start with this. And Broncos fans, don't take offense to this, but it's true. It's very true. If Sean Payton wasn't your guys' coach, I would have had you guys as top 3 pick. I would. But yeah, I have so much faith in Sean Payton and how he operates things, so much respect for him. I don't think they're going to be a top 3 pick team, right? But you look at this roster, you look at Bo Nix in his rookie year, you look at the skill position groups, and you look at the pass rush unit, a lot of spots on the defense, and you're just like, how in the world is this team going to finish with more than 7 or 8 wins? And that's just kind of the reality for me. It's like, that's my bottom line. How is this team, unless Bo Nix completely shocks the world and comes in Pro Bowl rookie season, completely shattering expectations, how is this team going to finish with more than 7, 8 wins in the AFC West? That's just kind of that's how I look at it, and it's very simple for me. Like, the talent on this roster is just not there yet.
There's not much to talk about with the Broncos, like you were saying. It's just like, if Sean Payton wasn't there, they would be a top 3 pick candidate. And I think he just raises the floor of the roster so much. I mean, look what he did last year. I actually think Bo Nix is going to be better than Russell Wilson was last year for them, because he will play in that Sean Payton offense. He will play in rhythm. And Bo Nix is very experienced in college, so it's not like he's going to be, throwing out an inexperienced rookie. Yes, he's new to the NFL, and he's going to have his learning curves, but I do think that this roster is one of the worst in the NFL. But with the way that Sean Payton coaches and with the quarterback now that they have, they shouldn't be in that top 3 category. I would bet much more on the fact that they're a top 16 pick than a top 3 pick, but I think top 10 is a good spot for them, because it's going to be a couple years before they hit their stride. Yeah.
Very well said. I would agree with that 100%.
Moving into probably the easiest team, Kansas City Chiefs, early playoff exit. That would be their floor. Patrick Mahomes, I think every year the ceiling is Super Bowl win, and every year that their floor is, an early playoff exit. It's always going to be playoffs when he's your quarterback. So with that being said, the worst case scenario is Rashee Rice is suspended for a while. Xavier Worthy doesn't take that jump. Their quarterback room takes a hit. I mean, I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter.
If that happens, they're still probably doing the Super Bowl. Like, it is.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. So I think early playoff exit is really the reality. I don't really know how to phrase this other than because they're going to make the playoffs. Like, okay, maybe they have a bad game in the playoffs, they lose. So that would probably be the worst scenario for them.
No, I mean, and again, let's put it in perspective type of thing, right? Like, their second round pick, who was supposed to be their first round pick, where I obviously they ended up lucking out in a hole with the trade, and it ended up working out. But funny enough, he's not even starting on this team right now. He's literally your second string left tackle right now. Like, the Chiefs have depth. They have the best QB in the league. But so for Chiefs fans, because I know the feeling, like, when you have a really good team and media outlets just glaze over you. I don't want to just glaze over. I'll give it a conversation point, right? How about this? In terms of why they won't regress and they're just going to keep getting better. Look, even if, to your point, of all things you said came true, outside of that, you still have so many young guys that are just getting better. Like Trey Smith, young and just getting better. Karl Loftus, young, just getting better. We got Leo Chenal, already one of the best interior linebackers in the entire league, just young, getting better. Trent McDuffie, one of the best corners in the league, young, getting better. Jalen Watson, emerging young corner, getting better. It doesn't really matter if we look at the guys getting older on this roster, that they haven't been producing as much, right? Like Niati. We could point to guys like that. It's but for every guy like that, there's a guy who's young and emerging. So that's just a story of the Chiefs. They've built this team incredibly well. They are going to continue to build it incredibly well as long as it stays under the same ownership and general management, which it will. And that's just the Chiefs. I mean, they've built a dynasty. There's no way you can't respect it if you're not a hater. And if you are a hater, it's because the Chiefs have beaten you in the playoffs. And that's kind of just all there is to it. The Chiefs are the dynasty of the league right now. I mean,
the kids growing up now, this is what the Patriots were kind of growing up. You hated them because they won, and then you realize you hated them because they were winners. Moving
Yeah, and
in.
that's why I'm not on that side of things anymore, right? Like I went through with the Patriots and unrelated, but Floyd Mayweather. Like when I was young, before I locked in and honed down like what does winning take? Like how
Yeah,
much
yeah.
dedication does it take? You just disregard it like, man, you're getting lucky. This,
Yeah,
that, and the
yeah.
fucking third. No, no. They're committed. They're committed to excellence. And you can't hate on that once you understand it. That's the bottom line.
We have the Las Vegas Raiders as a top 10 pick. I think there's a lot that could go wrong. They kind of got left without a seat in the quarterback musical chairs. Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and then you have AP as the coach. So I do think teams will play. I think the Raiders will play better than their roster says because of the type of coach AP is. But they do lose Josh Jacobs and they add Brock Bowers. So there's more weapons for whatever quarterback is going to be playing. But Luke Getsy's their OC, and we saw that worked out in Chicago. So we're going to get to see if it was Justin Fields or Luke Getsy, and also if the Raiders have a quarterback of the future in Aiden O'Connell. It's just like there's so much on this team where it's like their roster is not that great. I do love their defensive line. It's a lot of money there, but realistically, because of the quarterback play, and the OC, they could be a top 10 pick again this year.
No, and so just like we said though about the Titans, I want to be very clear to Raiders fans. This is one of the ones I felt really hard about doing. Like I felt really bad putting you guys into this range. But again, it's the floor. And if the floor hits, that is the floor for sure. I don't, again, like betting man thing, I don't necessarily lean towards that being the case. I would lean much more to like them finishing out very close to how they did this year, where you're right in that range where a couple more wins, you'd be in the playoffs. You know, you're in it's a tough situation. Very tough division, very tough conference. But in terms of like the way the roster's built, you know, outside of the QB position, we're getting to a point where like you can say they've honestly started to build, not started, but like they have actually built a competitive roster all in all, right? I mean, like through the free agency acquisitions, through the draft, through the scheme that Antonio Pierce has brought to this team, this is a team that can be competitive, but it goes back to the QB room more than anything. And you're kind of just like, how high is the ceiling with this current QB room? That's really all there is to say about the Raiders. I mean, the pass rush is going to be insane. The defense should be really productive again. But it's kind of like a lot of teams we've seen over the recent years. You can even compare like the Jets last year. Not that the Raiders offense is going to be like that. That's disrespectful. But you get my point. But that's also like that I don't expect the Raiders defense to be as good as the Jets last year. So you get what I'm saying? You kind of like tune up, down a little bit. And you kind of get that same middle ground. Like really good defense. The offense just isn't doing enough. And most weeks, you're going to be a little bit out leveraged. That's kind of just how I view the Raiders.
Moving into the last team in the AFC West, we have the Los Angeles Chargers as a top 16 pick. I think adding Joe Alt, yes, their skill position group may be one of the worst in the NFL, but Jim Harbaugh to me just raises the floor so much, similar to kind of the Broncos, and I think they still do have Joey Bosa, they have Khalil Mack, they have Derwin James. Regardless about how you feel about them now as players, there still is that level of competency on the defense, and we know that Jim Harbaugh is probably going to get this O-line working. You have a star quarterback in Justin Herbert, something that Denver doesn't have, and I think with the way that the Chargers are kind of built, and I think it's going to take a year or two again to see the full vision, I still think they should be, their floor would be like kind of at the very middle of the league.
No, absolutely. Again, and it just comes down to Justin Herbert being, again, people, when I say this, I don't know, some people think I'm kidding or joking. It's objective. Like historically, one of the best, if not the best quarterback in history for how long he's been in the league. It's just objectively true. So it's like when you have Justin Herbert, it's like, and now with the Harbaugh connection, and we've seen, again, back to pedigree. When you combine those pedigrees, the floor can only be so low. And it's like, again, I don't necessarily expect them to be a playoff team this year, but echoing your same exact sentiment, like they're knocking on that door. Like they're establishing that roster where they're taking a fish to the door this year. It'll probably be a bat next year, but there's just a little bit more that has to go into the roster building process as far as this year goes. Still a few more holes that need to be filled, but all in all, you can look at this roster and not only see the vision, but you can say to yourself, like, you have a lot of faith in the QB position, which is far and away the most important thing. You'll figure out the skill positions. You'll figure out the holes. You'll plug and play on the O-line where you have to plug and play. And soon enough, the Chargers will be back to being a playoff team. as long as Justin Herbert stays healthy. I just don't know if it's this year, and I'm pretty sure that's basically exactly how you feel about the situation, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
I think it's going to take some time. I think there's going to be a lot of turnover that could affect their record this year.